And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be normal.
RCPA chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, with planet.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside FT off. Bring in FT off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage. Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
If there's methane to be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You read? We don't need any more of these.
Hello everybody and good morning to this wonderful view of Pad 39A as SpaceX is getting ready to launch another Starlink mission, Starlink 10-57 today at this beautiful morning, as I just said. My name is Adrian Beil. I'm your host for today and apparently was not really organized for this intro. And with me is EJ.
Hey, I think that intro was fine for, this early in the morning. That intro was great. How you doing, everybody? It was perfect.
Wonderful. Thank you for that kind words, EJ. And also with us in the field is Max Evans.
Good morning, everybody. EJ, Adrian, it feels very weird to have you on a very early morning Starlink. Especially EJ. EJ, we need you on more Falcon streams. I'm just going to say it. We need you, we really want you on more Falcon streams. But good morning, everybody.
Oh, I mean, all right, I'm gonna now you said it. Now I'm gonna have to do it.
Yeah,
good. That's the spirit.
And so I don't forget him. Behind the scenes is Jay Keegan producing today's show, and I didn't forget the producer this time. Haha. And with that, EJ, are you excited for today's Starlink?
Yeah. Anytime there's a rocket launch, Adrian, I am. I get really excited. I don't know, man. How many Falcon launches are we in deep here? They launched this thing 500 times yet? We're at 111.
554 overall, 115th SpaceX launch, and there's more stats to it, but yeah.
This is the 529 Falcon 9 mission, 111th mission of 2025. Are you guys getting bored of this yet? Because I'm not. I'm not. This is fantastic. I love rockets. This is great.
I also always love the Starlinks on 39A because, of course, we get a lot of 40s because 40 tends to be the pad that launches a bit more Starlinks. But it's always great to see 39A. It's just a wonderful view. It's a beautiful pad. And it's a beautiful morning. And Max, I'm throwing this to you. How's the weather looking and also the visibility and everything? Is it shaping up to be a good morning?
Well, I was going to rudely stop you there and say that you were forgetting a word there when you were describing Launch Complex 39A.
Historic.
It is historic. Yes, Adrian. Yes. I'm glad you picked it up. But honestly, weather this morning is looking very, very good. There were some scattered rain showers in the area prior, which kind of rudely interrupted setup briefly. But alas, it is the most unstable time of the year for weather here in Florida, and we are in the heart of hurricane season. So weather can change literally at the snap of your fingers. But in terms of the actual forecast from the 45th Weather Squadron based down over at Patrick Space Force Base, they are only forecasting a 30% chance of violation today, with the primary concern being the cumulus cloud rule. And I do have to say there are quite a few of those around, albeit not in the direct area of the launch pad or the flight trajectory. So everything looking okay so far. And also in terms of upper level winds, booster recovery weather, and solar activity, those risk criteria are all forecasted to be of low concern. So everything is looking good, even though we have pushed a little bit into the window this morning. I believe the opening of the window was around 7 a.m. this morning, or maybe just before. Obviously now it is not that, but but they are proceeding with the count as far as we are aware. You see some venting from the transporter erector there on the right-hand side of your screen, and all that venting that we are seeing is an indicator based on what we have seen prior that we are currently on time for a liftoff at 8:32 a.m. local time here on the Space Coast of Florida from LC-39A. Sorry, historic LC-39A.
That was a summary, Max.
That's really good.
Wow, I'm impressed.
I have weirdly enough energy, or like way more than I thought I would, because I just got back from Starbase at like 10:30 p.m. last night, and then I had to wake up at like 5:30 this morning to do this. So, been a long night, not a lot of sleep, but honestly, I'm just glad to be home.
You got more sleep than me, man.
What? Oh, are you wrenching on that Ford again?
Dodge this time, but yeah, you know, something like that.
Typical.
First off, this looks beautiful. I kind of want to talk about the
what a
fairings
shot.
here. I mean, look at this shot. It's amazing. Clouds can be beautiful.
I love
They
Florida,
can be.
man. Florida's great.
Yeah, I mean, unless you forget that in that water, there's probably like 20 swamp puppies in this shot right now.
But you
That
don't
makes it
like
even
your-
better, Adrian.
Yeah, they're awesome.
No,
Yes.
they can bite.
Yeah, it is peak evolution right there. They've been virtually unchanged for millions of years. Gators are amazing.
They are literally adorable, Adrian. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Moving on. I kind of want to point out the fairing here, EJ, because of course we don't know exactly how many times they have flown yet. But look at these fairings.
Yeah, that one's seen some action. The one that's on the close side to the transporter erector. So, guys, if you don't know, Falcon 9 uses what's called a clamshell fairing. There are two halves to it, and they separate, and you'll see them separate here in about an hour, give or take, maybe a little bit less than that. There's one that's kind of facing towards the transporter erector, which is a white structure on the right side of your screen, and then there's one facing away. The one that's facing toward us, if you look at the very, very top of that rocket, on that pad, you look at the very top, you see a big scorch mark. That's where that thing has been through reentry a couple of times, because SpaceX does reuse their fairings. They when they separate these fairings, they have little reaction control jets. They flip over and they re-enter, and then they deploy a parafoil, right? And then they come down and land like a seaplane, and SpaceX goes and fishes them out. That one up at the front has some scorch marks on it. It looks like something I pulled out of the oven. It's nice and burnt, right?
Yeah.
That's because it's been through reentry a bunch of times. These fairings get reused, and they get reused a lot.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we have fairings somewhere in the high 20s to almost low 30s at this point, which is impressive if you think about it's just a bit of cover, right? No, it's a very complicated piece of technology that also manages payload air conditioning. It manages basically the health and supply to the payload. And these things are expensive. They're based on previous posts from Elon Musk, they're somewhere in the range of 1 to 3 millions. And well, they've saved some.
Well,
Honestly,
okay, go ahead, Max.
okay. If you
you go first.
No, you. Actually, to honestly elaborate a little bit more on the fairings, honestly, they are in their own respects their very own spacecraft, because they have their very own avionics and control systems, being RCS thrusters, or reaction control system thrusters. So once they separate, they have to orient themselves properly to re-enter the atmosphere at the appropriate angle, and then of course once they reach the appropriate altitude, they have their own parachutes which they deploy to be recovered out of either the Atlantic Ocean or the Pacific Ocean. So they really are their own individual spacecraft, separate from Falcon 9, even though they are technically obviously part of the rocket. But just one more unique thing: they aren't just this passive piece of composite or plastic or metal that once you shed, you obviously never see again. So very unique.
Yeah, sometimes I wish we had a bit better tracking for the fairings, because you could see how many of these fairings have flown important missions, right? And what kind of history they have. Of course, most of their manifest is probably Starlinks, but it's I always love to talk about this, and of course, we always give a lot of shine to the booster, which we will also talk about here. But I mean, the booster only flew 26 times so far, EJ. It's just his 27th flight, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's nothing. That's not even the life leader. Doesn't even have the crown.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's I don't think we have to now. I'm joking. Of course, B10 69 in this case, flight 27 after a 37-day turnaround here. So quite a booster. And for the people wondering what booster flew this booster, including CRS SpaceX 24 in 2021, is one of the missions it started its journey. And then since then, it has been very much a Starlink workhorse with 22 Starlink missions on this booster. So, yeah, that thing launched a lot of satellites.
And it's also worth noting that after CRS-24, it had a very rough landing on the drone ship afterwards. And of course, CRS-24 was its very first mission. A lot of the issues that we see with Falcon 9 booster recovery in terms of either a hard landing or a somewhat inaccurate landing or a landing that honestly makes you kind of pucker a little bit, always comes on the first flight because the vehicle really hasn't learned how to fly. And obviously it adapts more and more as it flies. So it came down very hard. I think either it struck a swell or a wave in the ocean at just the wrong time, or it fired the engine just a little bit too late, and it came down pretty hard and crushed some of the landing legs, crush cores, and then obviously smooshed a lot, or if I want to say a majority, if not all, of its 9 Merlin 1D engine nozzles. So it came in quite damaged, and a lot of us were convinced at that point that it was going to have to be scrapped because of how much damage there was obviously present. And what we couldn't tell though was how bad the damage was internally, whether it be to the thrust puck, I should say, or the actual tank structure itself. So we didn't know how much damage was under the skin, but it took a long time between flight number 1 and flight number 2. I think it's flight number 2 wasn't until 2023, I want to say, and CRS-24 was at the very end of 2021. So it was down for quite a while. Go ahead, Adrian.
It was about a year before flight 1 and 2. I just to quickly input here, but yeah, it's quite crazy if you think about that. The usual turnaround of these boosters is like what, 30 days?
Yep.
So there was some work to do. EJ, an interesting question here we are getting about the fairings is, do they have TPS? Or if they don't have TPS, why don't they need TPS, thermal protection system?
This is a good question. I love this. So fairings do have, I mean, all parts of the Falcon 9 in some way, shape, or form have some type of thermal protection system, albeit for like keeping propellants cold on the way up, or, Falcon has, at the very bottom, it has some thermal protection system down at the business end of the booster for when it's coming back down. Now, the fairings do have an outer thermal protection system, but it's not anything too fancy. Like you're not going to see tiles like you see on Starship, or a heat shield like you see on Dragon. You're not going to see those on the fairings. Now, why is that? All right. The big thing about the fairing is that for the amount of surface area that thing takes up, like if it's ongoing into the wind, right? It's very, very light for its size. I mean, you guys want a little bit of scale here. A school bus could fit inside of those fairings, like a big old American school bus. Like, I'm not sure how the school buses look overseas, but ours are pretty big. They're gigantic, and it can fit inside of there. So the fairing, believe it or not, for how big it is so ridiculously light that you're not going to need quite the biggest thermal protection system there. It's no different than the thermal protection system that you'd have for the fairing on the way up. Now, SpaceX has made some modifications to the very, very tip of the fairings, the nose cone, like up at the top. And there's some great footage of the separation. They have, like, if you look, that fairing is just wobbling around. They're not very structurally sound, to be honest with you, and they're super, super light. This thing is basically made out of like an aluminum lattice with carbon fiber, kind of like, not paper mache on either side. That's not the right way of saying it. It's wound on a mandrel and it's baked in an autoclave. But these fairings are so ridiculously light. You actually don't need that much of a thermal protection system. No, not much more than what you'd need for the thing going on the way up, right? So this fairing is able to come back down, and because it's so big and so ridiculously light, it'll just slow down. Now, that's not to say that it's not going to get reentry heating. It'll get a little hot, but what SpaceX has on the outside of the fairing is good enough. That's good enough to get it all the way back down. They have a very high coefficient of drag and a very, very low ballistic coefficient. To talk math for a second. So that the plain English way of saying that, they're super light and they're super big. So this is like, Adrian, like one more thing real quick. The equivalent here would be like if you were at the top of a tall building and you had a piece of paper, and like if you had like a piece of A4 paper and like a pebble from NASA's crawlerway, and you drop both of those off the building, that paper is just going to glide all the way down and will probably land on the ground relatively intact. That rock's going all the way down, hitting the ground and shattering, right? Well, it depends on the type of rock. But yeah, fairings, they don't need tiles. They don't need a heat shield. They have a small thermal protection system, but it's the thermal protection system that the thing, for the most part, uses on the way up.
I was about to bring up the example of the paper falling from a skyscraper. I'm not even joking. No, I'm not even like. I think it's brilliant that like the moment you said it, I was like, yes.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
So that was cool. Yeah. I mean, always impressive, and it's crazy to me how these fairings wobble at separations. You're like see them wobble a bit and like flex a bit, and it's crazy that these huge structures can just flex like that.
I mean, like most things with rockets, it's designed well enough to do the job and maybe a little bit more, and that's about it. Mass margins are always a thing with rockets, guys. Like, the more rocket you have on your rocket, the less, that means you have less fuel on your rocket. That means you're not going to go as far. And if you don't get it exactly right, if you don't dial it in perfectly, that means you're not going to space. So yeah, those things, that has to be right. It has to be really, really, really low mass. At least as little mass as you could possibly put on this thing to get it to do its job.
Every kilogram you spend on a fairing is a kilogram you cannot launch into orbit.
There you go.
Or even a bit more, actually. Probably, yeah. So there we go. Let me thank two people here who are coming in with early morning support here. Starting with Nibbles with Super Chat saying, just want to say thanks to the team and the NSF community. Everyone here is amazing. And I agree with that. The Discord is awesome. The chat is awesome. Even for the size we sometimes have from the Starship streams, our chat is, I think, pretty good. There are way worse chats with way less people watching. Elizabeth Herbner coming in with a $50 super chat in the morning. Elizabeth, thank you so much. It's thanks to people like you that we can continue to do this. So thank you all so much. Max, let me throw you a question that I think goes up what you want to be asked here. James Atkinson wondering, been a while since I had time to catch a Starlink launch. Do we expect footage of the satellite release today? Also, what's the second stage nozzle?
Do we expect footage of the satellite release? So normally we don't. SpaceX's live feed does not stay live long enough for us to see payload deploy. Normally they cut after SECO or second engine cutoff number 1, or I should say SECO 1, because they have to do 2 burns technically of the upper stage to circularize the orbit and get the Starlink payloads in the correct orbit that they need to go. But that takes about an hour, and obviously SpaceX does not stay live as that long to see that. Unfortunately, sometimes they release a feed from an onboard camera separately. If I guess the view is just that much more spectacular than it already is on a regular basis. But that is always up to SpaceX, and we have to wait and see on that front. But regarding the nozzle question, it is a full-sized second stage nozzle that we are going to be seeing on the Merlin, on Falcon 9's second stage on the vacuum optimized Merlin engine. And the reason why I say that it's a full-size nozzle is SpaceX also offers a quote stubby version of the nozzle. And the idea there is, while the nozzle is a lot shorter, Well, basically, the nozzle is a lot shorter, and the idea there was to save mass and to save cost in production, and as well time in on that front as well. Oh boy, I dropped a tripod. Oops. So with that, with it being lighter, with it being a lot shorter and costing a lot less to manufacture, that is that is optimized for what they want to do for lighter payloads. But because it is a much shorter nozzle, they lose a lot more performance from that engine itself. So that nozzle is really reserved for among the, I guess, lighter payloads going into a less demanding orbit in terms of what is needed from the upper stage. We haven't. I can't recall the last time we saw one. It's been a while. But circling back to this payload, the Starlink V2 minis, or really any Starlink payloads that they have ever launched, are towards the limit of what Falcon 9 can do to low Earth orbit while maintaining reusability. They are among the heaviest payloads that Falcon 9 flies, and I think it's when they hang on, I'm trying to think back here. I think when they flew 29, I think the one and only time they have flown 29 Starlink V2 mini satellites, that remains, I think, the heaviest payload that Falcon 9 has currently carried to orbit. Somebody fact check me. I could be wrong on that one, but because of the weight and mass of these Starlink satellites, they need the full size and full performance out of that MVAC engine. So full size nozzle today.
Thank Jeb. Oh,
you what? Thank Jeb? Is that what you said?
Thank Jeb. I hate that stubby nozzle. I can't stand that thing.
It looks so cursed. I'm so glad we don't see it anymore.
It looks so good.
It doesn't.
It does. It's functionally beautiful. How about that? Aesthetics mean nothing in spaceflight. Well, not nothing, but like they take a thorough backseat.
Don't give the Ares 1 fans an out.
I'm not.
Wait.
The Ares 1 fan club can go rot as far as I'm concerned.
Oh,
just kidding, obviously.
You're 0 for 2 with me today, dude. Jeez.
Would it be better or worse if I said Ford is bad, Chevy good?
0 for 3.
Yes, sir. I'm on a streak. Let's go.
I will continue. Atlas is an ugly rocket.
Well, which Atlas? This is important.
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
Atlas 5. I mean Atlas 5.
Which Atlas 5?
All that have boosters because they are all not symmetrical.
I mean, that is... Yeah, you kind of have a point there.
It's so annoying.
I don't know if I would say ugly, more like just visually frustrating.
Yeah, that's a very good word for it. I look at it and I'm like, it would be so much better if this is aligning. Sorry. This is a take I
way off the rails this morning.
I mean, I think the asymmetric boosters on Atlas, I think that's pretty trick engineering. I think that's pretty cool.
I mean, it is, but then you look at Vulcan and you're like, oh man, like SRBs lined up with perfect symmetry is just better. It's just better.
Yeah, like Vulcan shows you how ugly Atlas is, I think. Because Vulcan is so beautiful.
That's a take.
This is my take. I'm sorry. I love Atlas as a vehicle. Atlas is amazing. It's an amazing workhorse. It has launched amazing missions. The engineering is insane. I just don't like the visuals. Just want to be clear about that before some Atlas engineers see this and they're like, come for me. Anyway, Max, let's quickly talk about the timeline leading up to launch. What is Falcon 9 going through here in the next 34 minutes from now?
So we actually missed the first point in the timeline there, which is at T-minus 38, when the launch director verifies whether or not the vehicle and the ground systems are go for propellant load. And obviously, we are well past that point now. And assuming the launch director verified that all is go, propellant load aboard Falcon 9's first and second stages. Good Lord, I can't talk this morning. Should have started literally 1 minute ago at T-minus 35 minutes with both stage 1 and stage 2 RP1 and stage 1 liquid oxygen loading. So at the moment, we are looking out for frost on the bottom of the Falcon 9 first stage there, which should be pretty obvious considering how dark and sooty this booster is, and how white the frost usually contrasts against it. So we are on frost watch, and we should be seeing the first signs of it in maybe 1.5 to 2 minutes. That is currently what we are looking at, and hopefully we will be seeing that very shortly. But following that, we are leading up to of course, the very famous T-minus 20 minute, and I think it's the 20-minute 30-second vent as opposed to the T-minus 20-minute 20-second vent compared to what we see at Slick 40. But regardless, that is when SpaceX is visually prepping the lines in the transporter erector for stage 2 liquid oxygen loading. That is a big vent. You can't miss it. We call it big vent, best vent for a reason, and that will hopefully become obvious in about 13 minutes time. But yeah, that is what we are looking at right now, and hopefully in about maybe 1 minute or so, we should be beginning to see frost on either the bottom of the transporter erector as propellant flows through it, or at the bottom of Falcon 9's liquid oxygen tank.
There we go. Thank you so much, Max. EJ, I have a very interesting question here. I don't know the answer to, and I will just throw it to you because I hope you have some story about this. Resistor Jet is wondering, probably a daft question, but are bird strikes a problem with rocket launches? Thinking about the thin fairings, etc. I guess ignition scares them off anyway?
Yeah. During the shuttle program, they had to keep birds from nesting on the pad. So, their solution was a guy out there with a shotgun with blanks shooting up in the air to get the birds to go away. But ignition usually scares them away. What's up,
EJ? I see frost.
Do you?
I do.
Yeah, on the right side
of your
like
screen.
That looks like frost. You are in fact right.
I would say I was gonna say I'm sorry for interrupting, but it's you, so I'm not.
What?
Wow.
Man, I come in here, I wake up early just to get insulted.
Yes, welcome to the club.
Anyway,
somebody in chat right now is mentioning that they don't like Soyuz look.
I mean,
I don't mind Soyuz. I think that looks good.
Soyuz is just retro at this point, considering how old it is. But honestly, it still works. So props to them.
I give Soyuz a lot of props visually for the Korolev cross.
Yeah.
Yes, and hot staging, mind you.
Yeah, it looks like it has some very cool features, right? Like some very cool parts of it are just neat. So I like Soyuz. I like the fact that you sometimes I like the fact that you sometimes just see engineers casually walking by it 15 minutes before it launches.
That would be so cool. Like one of like the bucket list items that I want to tick off before I die is to walk by a rocket that is fully fueled with cryo, just to hear it hissing and venting and popping, and just hear what like a fully fueled cryo rocket sounds like when it's alive and ready to launch. I can only imagine what the red team was thinking walking on the mobile launcher before the launch of Artemis 1 almost 3 years ago now. Crikey. And just how SLS sounded fully fueled when they were walking literally feet from the SRBs and the core stage.
It was venting vapors like the breath of a sleeping white dragon. Yeah. Who gets it? Who's coming with me, man? Yeah? No? All right, cool, sweet.
I'm not coming with you there. I don't.
Me either.
Sorry.
Rush? Countdown? No? It's a song about the space shuttle? No? All right, cool.
Oh my God! Yes, you're right. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. F on me. I did not click that. I did not catch that at first. Good golly. I'm sorry, EJ. But I know I'm like 0 for 7 this morning now. Apparently.
In contrast to SpaceX, Max didn't catch that at first.
I mean,
correct.
Rip.
Moving on. James Atkinson is wondering, with EJ being on the launch, who's on the flame trench later, or is he putting up a double shift? Congratulations, EJ, you're also on the flame trench later.
So yeah, no, I'm gonna be in my office a lot today. We're doing this cast, and then I'm gonna go try to get a little bit more sleep. And then I'll be streaming over on the Twitch stream for a little while, then flame trench, and then more Twitch after that. I'm pretty much booked until probably 1 in the morning tomorrow. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I'm not going to read too much into that.
As you do.
There we go. The diabetic kid in a super chat asking, I asked EJ on a stream, but he wasn't sure. Do boosters have to return to the pad they launch from in the future? EJ, care to elaborate about this question if you remembered?
Say it again.
Do boosters have to return to the same pad they launch from in the future?
No. If this is in regards to Falcon? No. Falcon has 3 launch pads. There's 2 at the Cape, so that's Space Launch Complex 40, and then the one you see on your screen, historic 39A. And then there is another pad out at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. That's Slick 4 East. So SLC 4E. Any Falcon can launch from any one of those pads. And there are more Falcon pads coming down the pipe, if I'm remembering correctly. Don't quote me on that one, though. So the Falcons are all interchangeable. You can launch them from wherever. Any one of those 3 pads.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a clarification on this question here from Jay, because Jay has some input here. So yeah, just a disclaimer. I'm trying to put a different spin on this question here, because with the new SLD 45 rules, there's of course RTLSs in the landing landing.
Oh yeah,
in the launch pad complex. That's an interesting question. I assume they will always return on the pad they launch from.
Yeah, that's right. I was looking at the EIS to pad 40.
Oh, yeah.
Per the new Space Force Delta 45 rules, it has to come back to the pad if it's not landing on a drone ship. So let me bring people up to speed if that meant nothing to you. So SpaceX has landing pads at the Cape. They have 2 of them, LZ1 and LC2. They're on the former Launch Complex 13 property. Now, as the crow flies from where we are at 39A, they're about, I don't know, maybe 10 miles south of here, south of this pad, or about 16 kilometers south. They're a long way away. Now, SpaceX is giving up the lease from the Space Force on Complex 13, or LZ1 and LZ2. So they need a new place for landing pads. And what this Space Launch Complex 40 Environmental Impact, or EIS, denoted is putting the landing pads, the future landing zones for Falcon 9, putting them right next to the pads. 39A has a proposal for 2 pads on the northern perimeter of the pad. So that'd be on the left side of your screen from where this camera shot is right now. And Slick 40 has provisions to either put them in 2 different positions to the east of the pad, or 1 position to the southeast of the pad. 2 landing pads for each. So we have the potential of seeing up to 4. 2 around Space Launch Complex 40, 2 around 39A. And per the rules, they have to go, if you're doing what's called an RTLS with Falcon 9, which is not what we're seeing here today. Falcon 9 is going to go and land out on a autonomous spaceport drone ship. It's just read the instructions, which is way out in the ocean here. If you are doing a return to launch site, you got to go back to the pad of origin, which is cool. I think that's really neat. That was a good question.
There we go. I didn't understand it initially. That's why I asked it to you wrongly. So I'm very sorry about that.
It's early. It's early, man.
Yes, it's very early.
It is early.
It's fine. I'm still waking up. That one helped me wake up, believe it or not. Turns out talking about rockets is better than a cup of coffee for me.
This is a very amazing question I'm throwing to you, Max. Keith is wondering, and this very short question, how do they get the rocket to the pad? And there's so much to this.
Yeah, that is a very open-ended question. So, they essentially are able to. So, rewinding to Hangar X, which is where the entire launch process begins, they have a booster transporter where they lay Falcon 9 boosters on, and then those are transported by. They used to they used to be, I don't know if they still use the exact same transporter that they use for the space shuttle, but they often also tow it by truck. So the boosters are towed on that transporter, either by SPMT or truck, usually truck, out to either Space Launch Complex 40 or LC-39A here at the Kennedy Space Center. And following that, they are moved into whichever hangar they are going to be processed in, depending on which pad they're at. And then they are then mated to their second stage and their fairing assembly with whatever payload they are flying. And then they are then, or rewind. I all out of whack this morning. Before that, everything from the booster to the second stage and the fairings are all mounted together while the booster is already on the transporter erector, which is then rolled out to the launch pads. I think either by their own transporters or by SPMDs. I think they're their own transporters, but they are quite literally rolled out. And sometimes, if we're lucky, we will see the hangar door over at 39A open, and we can actually see Falcon 9 making that very slow crawl up the launch ramp up to the base of the launch pad before it is moved vertically. So TLDR, essentially, they are rolled out on their very own transporters. But I think we don't normally see those transporters up close and personal because we obviously are not at the launch pad, and SpaceX rarely ever does post any footage or imagery with said transport hardware. Normally, we do see it whenever they are about to launch Crew and Dragon is on top, and the rocket rolling out is a whole big deal. But basically, they are rolled out on their very own transporters. I hope that then answers your question. Good Lord, man, I cannot talk today at all. I'm so sorry.
It's so the transporters that Max is talking about, guys, are they're usually designed for moving extremely heavy loads around. So it's like a very, very, very highly modified, like low boy trailer. They use those for transporting them across the country. Now, the ones that they use to transport them across the country aren't the ones that they use to bring them to the pad. The ones that they use to, believe it or not, one of the things that they use for transporting Falcon 9s around at the Cape horizontally is an X shuttle transporter. There is a cart, and I say cart, it's this gigantic self-propelled modular transporter that was bespoke built by a company called Cometto to move shuttle orbiters around. SpaceX scored that thing in a government auction for nothing, like pennies on the dollar, right? And they modified it to move Falcons around. Now, you don't see that thing get used as much. They're using like modified SPMTs and then a heavy hauling truck, like something you'd see from the military, like a 7-ton or something, to pull these things around. They basically pull it on a really, 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 really big trailer. But they're not trailers exactly. They're designed for hauling heavy loads around. So it's usually super long, and it has they have like multi-axis steering on the trailer and stuff so they can maneuver the thing around because it's so ridiculously long. Crazy thing about it, though, is that more often than not, and correct me if I'm wrong, fellas, more often than not, we see Falcon 9s being transported around with a second stage attached to them. Like when we see them on Space Coast Live, we see them being moved with second stages around on the, like just second stage is bolted to the first stage. They just move the first stage around with the second stage attached to it, which is crazy. Oh, there's our vent.
Hey, EJ, what is that vent?
That is our 20-minute vent.
Correct.
Yes,
You're
it is.
already at T-minus 20 minutes.
Wow, time flies when you're having fun. All right. So that vent right there is SpaceX chilling down the propellant, particularly the liquid oxygen line that goes to the second stage that I was just talking about. The transporter erector, which is that structure to the right-hand side of the vehicle, so screen right, that has the fuel and oxidizer lines for the second stage. If you guys think about how stages are fueled, or what's called tanked in the industry, right? Get tanked, nerd. Right? They fill the stages up from the bottom, right? You want to plumb in fuel and oxidizer from the bottom of the tank up. They're not like pouring it into the tank, right? So how are you going to fill up the second stage? There's a first stage attached to the bottom. So they pump liquid oxygen up the line, and RP1, which is a highly refined version of kerosene. It's basically like super spicy jet fuel, right? They pump them up the side of that transporter erector, and kind of go. The lines go into the side of the second stage, and then they go up into the tanks. So obviously, you're not going to fuel that from the first stage, right? So that transporter erector, the thing that they build the stack on and then roll it out, it transports and erects the rocket. I know, a very clever name. That also has the fuel and oxidizer lines into it. But to move liquid oxygen around, because oxygen, in order for it to exist as a liquid, it has to be really, really, really cold. And in Florida, it is. I mean, Max, you can confirm it's not very cold down there. At least,
yep. Confirming it's not cold at all here right now.
Yep, they have to cool down that line. You have to cool down the line to get the really cold liquid oxygen to flow into the tanks correctly. If you pump liquid oxygen into a nice warm pipe, it will evaporate. So what SpaceX has at the top of the TE, right where the fuel lines, right before the fuel line and oxidizer lines go into that second stage, they have a little vent. So they're pumping liquid oxygen up the line and filling it up. It is evaporating and it's going out that vent. That's what that huge cloud of condensation is. Actually, it's gaseous oxygen, but that's what that vent signifies. The vent signifies that they're basically ready to go with second stage fueling operations, or they will be ready to go soon.
It is also a rather good indicator of what the wind is doing here in Florida at the moment. And honestly, at the moment, it is more or less falling straight down, and it looks like Falcon 9 is basically wearing a cape, although Falcon 9 is not at the Cape right now, technically. It's at the Kennedy Space Center. But honestly, that is a rather beautiful sight. I can't say I've seen a vent this dramatic looking at Pad A before. It is very humid out this morning, and there is not even a breath of wind in the air. That is why the vapor is falling straight down. Looks very, very cool.
Somebody in chat asked if RP1 is so good, why didn't they make an RP2? And I would like to answer, they did. There was an RP2, it just didn't catch on because it had some cost benefit and industry inertia problems. But there was RP2. I just wanted to quickly drop that. Anyway,
I didn't know that, really.
Yeah, they made an RP2. RP2 was developed like 20 years later, and it had more. It had fewer trace impurities, and in general was considered a bit better. But the problem was it was more expensive to refine. It also had some, like, there was already an established industry with RP1, so it never caught on. So that was why RP2 was never used. But technically there is an RP2. So whenever somebody makes the joke, if RP1 is so good, why is there no RP2? I can demolish that joke.
Just ruining jokes 24/7.
What you're saying is there was a spark, but there was no light. It didn't light.
Yeah, and then of course, as Alex mentioned back channel, we had Astra with their Rocket 3, which used RPX. I'm not sure if they fully clarified what was that exactly, but I mean, maybe it was just marketing. We'll see.
Adrian, it's funny you mentioned that, like, because, you know, certain rockets, you know, just like different types of fuel. And I know that's going to sound like, well, yeah, UJ, of course. It's just, it's the same kind of thing that, like, you know, different cars would prefer a higher octane of gas, right? Sometimes you're not using like a, you know, RP1. Sometimes, you know, launch providers will add stuff to it, or they'll use a slightly different mixture, right? This really, you really see this come through with CH4 based propellants. So like, let's take SpaceX, which you see on the screen. Now, this rocket on the screen does not use these propellants, but Starship, their next generation bigger rocket, uses liquid methane and liquid oxygen, right? Straight liquid methane. So that's LCH4, liquefied CH4, and liquid oxygen, right? There are other rockets that use methane akin stuff. So like if you take Blue Origin's New Glenn, right? New Glenn is using mostly methane, but they call it liquefied natural gas. The reason why they say LNG instead of LCH4 is because they have a little bit of sprinkling of butane and propane, boy, I tell you what, in their mixture. So it's LNG. They're using a slightly different mixture to get a little more performance because that's what their motors like. Right? So you're not, you know, it's not unfounded to be like, oh, what about RP2? What about RP3? What about RPX? we're not using methane, we're using LCH4, right? Or LNG, right? This does happen. They do, sometimes add a little bit of spice onto their propellants. That you put a little bit of Frank's Red Hot in there, it get a little spicy. It does happen.
Yeah, it's like kind of comparable to, for example, Formula One, right? Like it's all hydrocarbons, but every team will have a bit of a different blend of hydrocarbons.
Mm-hmm.
So
Basically.
yeah, it's a cool thing to elaborate on, and because I don't think Starship would enjoy the fuel mix from BE4, for example. I don't think that would work.
Yeah.
Not optimal. Let's word it like that.
It'd work for a second. It'd be like putting low octane fuel in a Porsche or something. That it'll work for a little while until it breaks.
Yep.
It'll work. It just might not work well.
Yeah. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. When I say it'll work for a little while and then break, it'll probably just blow up. Like it'll go right to your thighs, and then you'll blow up.
You have all kinds of like design specifications in a rocket engine, right? That have certain pressure, certain temperature requirements, and certain probably also purity requirements. And them not being met usually means you're in for a bad time. To word it lightly. Imagine putting diesel in your I forget the other word. What's the English word for the non-diesel fuel?
Gasoline?
Thank you. Yeah, it's in
Like
Germany.
petrol.
In Germany it's
petrol,
benzene
yeah.
and diesel.
What?
Yeah, putting diesel in a gas car is a really bad idea. I would not recommend anybody try that ever.
Yeah, in Germany we have we have two fuels, benzene and diesel, and you shouldn't put the wrong in the wrong car. Probably whatever.
Benzene? Really?
Benzene. Yeah, it's called benzene. Benzene and diesel.
Interesting. Today I learned.
I will elaborate further at some point. Anyway, at this point it feels like we're about there where I think I will let Max go here, because Max, I think you still have some cameras to set up in this morning, right?
Yeah, there was some rain that got in the way of setup this morning, and I was only able to get the live stream camera up. So I'm going to get my other two cameras set up now while I can. So it's a bit earlier than usual, but thank you very much, everybody, and I will see y'all on the other side.
See you, buddy.
Talk to you later, Max. James Atkinson asking, hey, Adrian, how's the design for Flight 11 patch coming along? It's done. That's all I'm going to say about this. Then let me thank some more people here coming in early this morning here with some very generous support. Matt Hicks with a super chat saying, haven't been able to donate in a while, so why you guys are here, love ya. Keep up the great coverage. Don't ever feel sorry or try to make up for not being able to support us for a period of time. You being here and asking questions and keeping it entertaining is all we ask for. So thank you so much for that, Matt.
To get a little bit philosophical here in the morning. Like, time is a precious commodity, guys, and you give us your time. That means a lot. And that's a big deal, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep. Couldn't have said it better. Matt Hicks also gifting a Red Team membership. Thank you so much. Molly becoming a Pat Red member. And then Aaron Quake saying, I'm 40 today, so happy there's a launch for my birthday. Thanks, NSF, for all you do. Happy birthday.
SpaceX is going to light a candle for you.
Yeah, I feel very confident there will be a big candle. Angry American with super chat saying, the difference between RP1 and home heating fuel is the ppm of wax and sulfur content for lubrication.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, fuel oil for your house is a little bit heavier stuff than RP1. That's a little bit more sludgy, but yeah, there you go. That's all the different mixtures for hydrocarbon. Like, you want to talk hydrocarbons, there's all different types of oils, from bunker C all the way to gasoline. Right, to lubricating oil, to fuel oil. There's all kinds of stuff. That's a good stuff, man.
There we go. I think RP1 also is red, right? It's almost reddish in color.
It has red dye in it, I mean, it depends, but yeah, they put red dye in it. It looks like Hawaiian Punch. That's so you can identify it because, you know, it's a clear liquid. You know, I don't know what this is, right? They actually put. I'm about to say food coloring, but it ain't food coloring, right? Yeah, it looks like fruit punch. It's forbidden fruit punch, though.
It's how some gases get some odor put into it, so you smell them when they leak, right?
That's correct.
Like,
yep.
It's an identifier to make it more easy. So let's see here. What else do I have a question? I mean, of course, we are just 8 minutes and 20 seconds away here from launch, and at this point, Falcon 9 is getting close to engine chill. And I'm wondering, EJ, why would an engine need to be chilled? It's getting very hot, right?
It's the same exact reason that we saw the 20-minute vent. The Falcon 9 is going to start moving through what's called pre-valves. There's smaller valves, that obviously not the main one that opens up to the engine. They start opening up smaller ones to cool down their turbine machinery. If you take extremely cold propellant, you put it into a hot rocket engine. And when I say hot, I mean it's all relative, right? The liquid oxygen is minus 193 C. And ambient temp in Florida is like 30 C. We're talking about a 200 plus temperature delta here. You know, you take that cold propellant, hit it into the hot motor, it'll evaporate. And if you get evaporation inside of your turbine machinery on a Merlin, which is basically your fuel pump, if you get air pockets in there, you're gonna have a bad day, like a really bad day. So they move the propellants into the rocket to get the turbine machinery cool. That's their operating temperature. We've been talking a lot about cars. It's probably because I'm here, but your car has to, take time to get to operating temperature, to lubricate itself correctly, to work correctly. If you try to rev out a cold engine, try to let it eat when it's cold, you're going to have a bad day too. You're going to be visiting Rodney, and there's going to be a nice big weight reduction hole in the side of your engine, right? Rocket engines, same idea here. Got to cool it down. It has to get to operating temperature. When the engines are saturated and when they're down to temp, that's when you can go.
Yeah, in general, rocket engines hate state changes. We are talking about, like sometimes rocket companies, when they have a failure, talk about a hard start. Hard start sometimes almost means we didn't achieve a proper stable combustion and our engine blew up. So, it's changing conditions, always hard. What is changing constantly, though, is SpaceX preparation for Starship at the Cape. As you can see, 2 tanks here being unloaded, which I think might be for Starship. I'm not saying there are, but it's huge potentially cryogenic tanks being unloaded at the Space Coast. So I don't feel super crazy to say this might be for Starship.
I'd be putting some money down on Starship for sure.
Yeah, there's also Neat Pizza in the back channel saying they're using the same SPMTs the previous tanks that went to 39A used. So, if it smells like a cryo tank, yada yada. Okay, 5 minutes and 30 seconds to go. Thanks for that. Cool that just continues to happen while we are live in the countdown. Look at that lack of wind. There's just nothing in wind.
Nice, yeah. Not windy on the range. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, there's some clouds in there, but EJ, not every cloud is dangerous for a rocket, right? It's like only particular formations.
Yeah, I mean, there is some low clouds there, but I don't think those are the spicy kind of clouds. They look, I don't think we see the, I'm not going to say it, the dreaded anvil clouds, right? Okay, I said it, sorry. We don't see nothing like that here. Those are low clouds, but yeah, that happens in the morning in Florida. Seriously, by the end of the day, the clouds they go up because everything evaporates. I mean, that it doesn't work exactly like that, but you get the idea.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Another question here from Resitojet. I'm just gonna ask you questions here, EJ, while we are waiting for this countdown.
Shoot, let's go. This is my favorite part.
Resitojet's wondering how do they compensate for expansion and contraction in the tanks with the temperature changes?
That's a very good question. The tanks do expand and contract. The rocket breathes. That's what Max was talking about when he said, "Oh, I want to stand next to like a fully fueled rocket. It's breathing." Oh, you do get expansion and contraction. Fun fact: SLS, for instance, the rocket that takes off from the pad that's just to the north of this one, SLS has to be frozen to structurally be sound enough to launch. They have essentially, it's an expansion strut between the SRBs and the core stage. And it'll only really get structurally sound when it's fully fueled with cold propellants. That's what it'll contract, and then it'll get very, very rigid for launch, which is really cool. Now, like, how do you do that? Well, you're going to use an alloy in your tanks. You're not going to use like straight aluminum or straight steel, some kind of alloy to deal with the different thermal expansion and contraction. Now, in Falcon 9's case, it's aluminum lithium. They use an aluminum lithium alloy to deal with that expansion and contraction. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you won't get cracking. This is why for reused Falcon 9s, you sometimes see like stripes that are seemingly down the first stage. That's where they inspected the stir welds. They inspected the welds because that's not a structurally weak point, but you want to inspect the vehicle with X-rays to make sure it's not cracking, because aluminum does like to crack.
I think that was just a quick call out. Go ahead.
No, all good. I wasn't sure if there was going to be more. So yeah, they use different metal alloys to do it. Now, in terms of the plumbing have flex joints built in. There are flex joints to deal with the thermal expansion and contraction. Like that's for fuel lines, oxidizer lines, et cetera, et cetera. They have flexi joints. It's like if you took a pipe and a slinky and like made them into one thing. Flexi joints. You heard it here first.
I love the name. Flexi joints. I think that should, if it's not a technical term, it should be one.
I agree.
So that's a very good explanation, and it's so much that goes into working a rocket, like all the different conditions a rocket has to go through. It's always fascinating to talk about what these engineers have to make work, while also have heavy weight. There we go. That's the stage 2 lock slot. You will now see return of the vent there it is, on cue, as they are wrapping up and basically purge that transport erector to make sure there's not like locks in there anymore, because EJ, that would be a bad time, right?
Yeah, you know, the way we saw them chilling down the line before, now what they're doing is evacuating all the liquid oxygen out of that line. They opened up that vent and they started purging the line out with nitrogen. Just generally speaking, this is just a general rule of thumb for when you go to launch your rockets, chat. You want the fuel and oxidizer to be in the rocket, not out, not around, not next to the rocket. You definitely don't want it in the launch pad, right? Because
Absolutely.
it's gonna get a little fiery. You don't want that. You want that in the rocket. So they're evacuating all the propellants out now.
Brilliant advice. And now with the next call out we hear is Falcon 9 startup.
Here we go. T-minus. We're inside of 1 minute. There we go.
There it is. Now the rocket computer has fully taken over the countdown at this point, and that means Falcon 9 is basically performing the next step autonomously. The final thing is the sign-off from the launch director, which should come any second. Oh my god, it's so on cue today. And with that, 40 seconds to go here for the launch of Starlink 10-57. Watch at the bottom of the rocket. That's where you see the deluge, these vertical stands there, where the deluge system will start to spool up shortly before ignition to chill down that pad and basically suppress all the sound and suppress the heavy energy of these rocket engines ahead of launch. These should be spooling up any second now.
The deluge system is on here. You'll see the sound suppressor come on here momentarily in preparation for ignition.
There it is. Ignition. And we have a liftoff. Liftoff of Starlink 10-57, increasing the satellites for the Starlink Internet Satellite constellation in orbit. Let's listen in for that beautiful sound.
That's nice.
Yeah, that vape. You could see the vapor cone.
Very good. Beautiful, beautiful tracking shot. Beautiful lighting here.
Deep crackle as well today on the engines. Really hitting a beautiful sound today. And just a minute to go for this booster. They're using that propellant quickly.
Yep. Once again, everybody, this is booster 1069. That's the serial number on the first stage. And it is right now on its 27th flight. 27 reuses of that first stage. It's pretty impressive.
If you're really watching close, you can see that the shutdown that is about to happen is staged. They will shut down basically two engines in sequence, and it's not all 9 engines at the same time. It's hard to spot, though.
The sequence shutdown goes along with sequence ignition, Adrian. We probably should have talked about this. They don't light all 9 engines at once, nor do they shut down all 9 at once. The reason why is because if you try to light all of them or shut down all of them at the same time, you're talking about shock accel and deceleration on the vehicle. It'd be like hitting the bottom of it with a hammer. You don't want that.
Yep.
There it is.
It's like a very gentle startup, basically. And that's the second stage MVAC engine that you can now see there from this beautiful track from Max. Still has it. Look at that. It's a hint of a jellyfish.
Yep.
And there's the booster in the plume now of the second stage. And we should see 2 more dots popping up there. That will be the fairings.
Exactly. Those aerodynamic shells that we were talking about at the beginning of the stream.
Should pop up on. Now there's a cloud, of course. But
Hey, clouds are
there's
nice.
SpaceX views.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they gave us some beautiful launch today.
Yep, we can see the fairings separate on the right screen, left side of the right-hand screen. You can see them tumbling away. Now, they do have thrusters on them, and those thrusters will right the fairings, so the curved outside aerodynamic part of the fairing is going to end up being what's called a windward side. That means they're going to face the outside skin of the fairing towards re-entry, and those fairings will be fished out and reused.
Absolutely. Kinda crazy. And we are also getting serial numbers now here. We have serial numbers on the fairing SN 212-14, which means 14 flights of that fairing. And the other half, is SN 155-29. So that fairing just did its 29th flight. Yeah,
These numbers are
impressive.
getting pretty large.
Yeah, I mean, that fairing has flown about 5% of the whole Falcon 9 launches. To give that in a perspective.
That is a non-insignificant number. It's pretty good.
That fairing has flown more than Falcon Heavy and Delta for Heavy combined.
Oh. I don't know how to feel about that.
I'm
What
sorry.
happened?
I trash talk Falcon Heavy and Delta for Heavy at the same sentence.
Delta IV Heavy is your favorite rocket of all time, Adrian. Why would you?
Yeah,
do that?
but it is. But the fairings, the fairing today, the 29 flight fairing, has more flights than both Falcon Heavy and Delta IV Heavy combined.
I mean, yeah.
I just think that's impressive.
Hey,
These
when
onboard
there's
views never get old, man.
they really don't.
I'm looking at it now. I know SpaceX made some recent upgrades to their upper stage cameras maybe a year ago or so, and those have obviously migrated down to Starlink upper stages as well, as opposed to super critical mission like Crew or anything DoD maybe. But this being early morning here on the Space Coast, it is flying almost towards the sun and obviously well we're well over the bright blue ocean. It is absolutely beautiful. I think the tracking on the way up was about as clear as I've ever seen a rocket on ascent from Pad A before. That was remarkable.
Cool. Now we're getting ready for my favorite part. This is my favorite part about Falcon 9. This is the entry burn. The entry burn is going to slow that first stage down and it's also going to protect it from the oncoming reentry forces right there. So Falcon 9 is going to fire one engine and it's going to light two more. And what it's doing right now is using those engine exhaust gases as the heat shield. That's the heat shield for that first stage. The first stage would burn up otherwise. What it's called is supersonic retropropulsion. That's my favorite part of every Falcon 9 launch. The SSRP burn. What that is, once again, what that's doing is slowing down that first stage and making sure it's protected from the oncoming reentry heat. Now, I know what people are going to say. You're going to say, well, it's rocket exhaust, EJ. Isn't that warm? Yes, it absolutely is. But once again, it's all about relative temperature. It is not as warm as reentry heating. That is enough. It's just enough to prevent Falcon 9 from burning up on the way down. I always thought it was cool using the exhaust gas as your heat shield. I think that's really, really neat. It's one of my favorite parts. That never gets old. You can tell I'm getting fired up just from looking at it.
I always I always also love to look at the grid fins at this point. Like I love once these grid fins are massive, right, EJ? And they're just casually steering and moving.
I mean, those grid fins are about the size of a coffee table that you'd find in your living room. And they are one-piece cast titanium. It's one of the biggest titanium castings ever. So if you're a machinery nerd and an industrial nerd like me, that's actually that's a super big deal. And we just see them, on Falcon 9s pretty much every 2 to 3 days flying. Crazy.
Stage 1 landing burn.
And that is the start out of the landing burn. And
there it is. So right now, Falcon 9 is going to use its engine to slow itself down. And while the engine is being used to slow itself down, the grid fins are going to steer this thing out over the SpaceX's autonomous spaceport drone ship. It's called Just Read the Instructions. Now, you see when aerodynamics, when it slows down enough for aero not to become a thing, the grid fins lock in, landing legs deploy.
Stage 1 landing.
And you have that thing touching right down on the drone ship. What? What is that?
That was heat, I think. And that is the 500th landing of a Falcon booster.
A water deluge system on Just Read the Instructions got a little spicy. I thought we saw that thing rocking around, but I think that was just water on the camera.
Wow. But 500, EJ. 500 times landing an orbital class rocket booster.
That is awesome. You know where my mind just went? Good. 500 more. Let's go. More.
Absolutely. More.
This is, by the way, according to Alex spreadsheets, with at this point, I trust more than some other, especially companies tracking. Just saying. Apparently,
he's the sultan of spreadsheets.
They're offloading tanks.
Left-hand side of your screen, Adrian, right in front of us.
Apparently, I've been told there's also a booster. Oh,
hey.
There it is.
Look at that.
Wow.
Do they ever sleep?
No. Adrian, we are talking about the spaceport that never sleeps. Never. It's never stops.
I want to point this out because people could be like, oh, they're just doing this for show, right? They're doing all of this next to a launch, you show up. No, this is just their constant activity. This is what happened. You could park Max at the Cape for 24 hours a day and he would spot things.
It's crazy.
All day, every day. It's kind of like Starbase, obviously not to really that extent in terms of how much access we get, but it's more than just SpaceX here. It's also NASA, obviously, here by the vehicle assembly building. You have ULA over at 41 and everyone else moving down towards the South Cape side. So lots happening here. And the booster that you are seeing on screen is booster B1083. And I think this was its 14th flight, I think. And that one launched just a couple of days ago. So this is just business as usual for SpaceX, really. I would not be surprised if we see this one turn around within 24, 48 hours.
Crazy.
The drone ship, at least.
Yep. Yeah. So actually, Max, that's a good point to bring up. Just in case and if this is your first time watching it, first of all, we appreciate it. But if you're wondering what you're seeing on the screen, it's like, wait a minute, I thought we were supposed to see a rocket launch here. Well, the launch did already happen. But And Falcon 9's first stage did go out and it landed on an autonomous spaceport drone ship. But SpaceX has 2 of them operating off of the Space Coast. They have just read the instructions, which you just saw Booster 1069 land on. And then, as Max said, you have a shortfall of gravitas here with which one was it, Max? 1083?
1083, yes, sir.
So that, one drone ship, that received a mission that had a Falcon 9 landed on it 4 days ago. It's being towed back, and you see one drone ship coming in, another one out probably, 400 miles off the coast that we just saw a rocket land on, and the other one's coming in. It's a never-ending train, right? And Max, like you said, they're going to bring that drone ship in there. They're going to bring a shortfall of gravitas in there. A crane will pull Falcon 9, lift it up off the ship, put it on shore, and then the drone ship's turning around and going right back out to sea for the next mission.
It's crazy. Like, they have this 30-day pipeline that just keeps on going. Like, a booster from launching to launching again is about 30 days right now. And now imagine the second stage production. Now imagine all of that fairing recovery operations and refurbishment abilities. Imagine a Merlin production. There's so much going on at this company, just on the Falcon 9 side. We talk a lot about the Starship side, but it's a masterpiece in an industrial planning that they are doing to have this pipeline constantly chugging and never have to wait on a booster, never have to wait on a fairing. It's honestly insane.
The industrial base that SpaceX has built out here just for Falcon should be studied. It's a case study in industrial engineering masterpieces.
They're lifting a booster at the Cape right now.
Oh, so
and casually, there's a replay on the left-hand side of your screen with Falcon 9 flying by. Just the crane on the center of your screen. Falcon just is flying right behind that at the moment. It's very small on the screen and a lot more tricky to spot during the daytime as opposed to night, because obviously it's nowhere near as bright in contrast to the sky during the daytime. But there we are. I think this is Fleet Cam 1, I think.
So, just like we said, an assembly line, a drone ship's coming in with a Falcon. That Falcon that you guys see on the screen that the crane is lifting is one that's being processed to basically it's getting ready to be turned horizontally to head back to a launch site for another mission. And then we had one that we just saw land out on the drone ship. It is a never-ending assembly line here. That's crazy.
In this stream, you now saw 3 boosters.
It's crazy. I love it. I love it. This is what the Space Coast was built for, man.
Yes, sir.
It's what it was built for. Let's go.
A spaceport that never sleeps for a reason. It is, as cliche as that sounds, it is quite literally how it functions.
And now imagine what will happen once Starship moves there, because we all know it's coming, right? Like Starship will start to move and commit more to the Cape.
I'm so excited, dude. I'm so excited.
And also, to be fair, I also want to mention New Glenn here, because New Glenn also has ambitious cadence goals, and I'm sure Blue Origin can go very, very, very much higher. So then you will have New Glenn and Starship flying from the Cape on a regular basis soon.
What a timeline that we are currently living in, right?
Not too shabby.
It's pretty good.
Not too shabby. Not too shabby.
Yeah, it's pretty good, yeah.
It's pretty good. I'm a fan.
I feel like rockets, you can see 1 or 2. I always love when I started NSF, it was like, oh yeah, you have a good chance if you're at the Cape to see a rocket launch. Now it's basically guaranteed. Like, if you're at the Cape 1 or 2 weeks, you will see it.
Heck, I remember, Adrian, I mean, I've been doing Twitch streaming for a long time. I remember 10 years ago, people were planning their vacations around rocket launches. Now, people are like, oh, if I go down, for this week and they want to launch on a Wednesday, will I get to see it? Like,
EJ, shh.
Nice.
Wave out. Yeah, EJ, you were going to say sorry. We quickly.
Yeah,
wanted
sorry,
to
EJ.
Huh? What? I don't even know what I was talking about, dude. I'm
Sorry to
sorry.
interrupt.
I got distracted by the
Cadence.
sound.
Cadence at the Cape and trying to watch a rocket launch. But
You
yeah.
know what? The sound kind of just locked me in. I was just like, I don't even know what I was talking about. That sounds awesome.
Oh.
That sounds amazing. I want to hear
Yeah.
more of that.
You were talking about how people used to plan their vacation around rocket launches and how risky that was, considering how often launches, I guess, scrub back then, and still kind of do, but nowhere near as often, especially with how often they actually fly.
Yep.
But nowadays, it's like it's
Just go.
borderline like plane spotting out of Orlando. Like you're almost guaranteed to see one, depending on how long you're here. But if you're here for a week and a half, you are basically guaranteed to see one, if not two.
Yeah, I guess the only phases in the last 2 years where you wouldn't see a rocket launch if you're there for 1.5 weeks is either when Falcon 9 is grounded or when there's like a major weather event. That's all.
Basically, yes.
So insane. Okay.
Just another Friday, guys. Just another Friday.
I
Love it. You love to see it.
I love it. I mean, I just love to watch Falcons fly. Falcon is such a machine. It's
Spaceflight's cool, isn't it? Spaceflight's just cool.
I agree. Let me thank some more people here because I fall behind here. Mark Spencer with becoming a Padret member. Thank you so much. Apocalypse Cow with gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Thank you so much. And then we have Byteford with a $25 super chat saying, here we go, starting our day off right with a launch. Happy day, everyone. Indeed, Byteford. Happy morning to you as well. Wonderful. I think we done it. I'm looking at the back channel here, but I think it's time to say our goodbyes here, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Adrian, I think we could sit here and watch Space Coast Live all day. Just watch the boosters.
If
being
only you could
processed.
do that, right? Like if
I mean-
only there's like a 24/7 Space Coast live stream that you could watch every single second of the day, EJ.
Yeah, I know that'd be really good. Where can I find that?
Oh, the NASASpaceflight YouTube channel, I heard there's a 24/7 Space Coast live stream where you can watch all the activity constantly every single day of the week.
Is it bad if I have like Starbase Live and Space Coast Live, and McGregor gets cut in on SPL, so I just have those on while I'm working? Is that bad? It's only slightly distracting.
I also have a dedicated screen for that. Like I have a dedicated space watching screen where they just run. Like you sometimes catch something, you sometimes see something. It's kind of cool.
Yep. Just sit there watching the work bit being done. It's very humbling, and it's a privilege to see it, to be honest. It's pretty cool.
Wonderful. Absolutely. So with that, EJ, thank you so much for getting up early in the morning and joining me here on the stream.
Finland. I mean, hi. Yeah, I'm awake. Yeah. Hey. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's a privilege being on here, guys. And I do stream over on Twitch. I will be live in probably about 3 hours from now over there. If you like STEM stuff, you like playing STEM games like Kerbal, Stationeers, stuff like that, I'm your guy. If not, keep following over here at NSF. But Adrian, thank you for having me. It's a privilege being on here. I do appreciate it.
I appreciate you as well. And of course, you will also be on the Flame Trench later today. And
That's right.
then we also had in the field Max Evans also rolling out here very early in the morning. Max, thank you so much.
It is a pleasure as always, everyone, and thank you as well for coming to hang out with us. I know it is very, very early for us here in the U.S., but it is always a pleasure coming out to see Falcon 9 fly, especially from historic 39A. So, and we will hopefully see you guys again in about 4 days for Monday's mission.
There we go. Couldn't have said it better. Behind the scenes, Jay Keegan was the operator for today's stream. Thank you so much, Jay. And I'm your host, Adrian Bile. I was also here on today's stream. And with that, let's all watch some Space Coast live. See you there.
And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, roger, planet.
Water towers fly! Yes! Tango down to nominal.
Fighting downside of speed off. Bring in SPD off. Off. It's orange! 145!
Oh my god!
Decollage. Put that in the big bag, Jingle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You dead? Sure. We don't need any more of these.